So I'm making this recording to document my coming out story. So as I guess we'll say teenager, right around the time when YouTube became a thing, became popular for, people to start to have like a fan base. That's how I started gathering and making a small community for myself that was surrounded by LGBT. Most of my life I was not out. I was very confused. I was very hateful towards anything that was gay, anything that would, in my head, bring to the surface who I am. So let's start, I guess, from the beginning. So as a very young kid, definitely going to go on the record by saying kindergarten. I've always liked girls. I was always very imaginative, very creative, and things like that. And as silly as it sounds, I discovered this through house. Now, all these new generations out here, I don't know how you guys played when you were little, with all the technology and things like that. I don't even know if most of these kids out here even actually played with their friends, actually made up games and played. But when I was a kid, house was that shit. Okay? So with being a girl, I was either the daughter or the mom, quote unquote, naturally. So, the game was still lit. Don't get me wrong, the game was lit. But I would quickly be tired of being the mom. I didn't want to be the wife. I wanted to be the dad. And for the longest time, that was never weird. It was just always, damn, I keep picking the short straw. You know what I mean? Like, how come I can't be the dad? So I would say that it starts there. When I started realizing that this wasn't right, was around 3rd grade. So me and my friends would play outside all the time. I mean, I remember very vividly finding bikes that didn't work, but if you like the frame, you would take the tires off of your bike, the chain, all that stuff, handlebars, all that stuff, and you would put it on the new frame that you just found. That's just how things were, and it was lovely. So I wasn't always particularly, drawn to playing Barbies and things like that. However, we'll get to that segment in a minute because I played me some Barbies. I don't want to be misleading here, but back on track, I would do things like that. I was always tomboy, rough and tough, playing football, basketball, sports, and then, like I explained, the whole aspect of changing bikes and things like that. So those are things I would do. And I remember 3rd grade, during the summer, so maybe even the summer right after I finished 2nd grade, actually, playing hide and seek and killed a man. And there was this boy. He was our neighbor, and he always asked me. He actually straight out asked me this day and said, how come you're always hanging out with the boys? Why are you always with the boys? You never play with the girls. So I said to him, which I'm going to go on the record and say, I don't know where I got this from. I don't know where it came from, but I will never forget the fact that I said it. So I said to this kid, well, because I'm not really a girl. So naturally he's confused, like, the fuck is she talking about? So I said, I'm not really a girl. I was born a boy, but my mom really wanted a daughter. So in the hospital, she told the doctor to make me a girl. And that's how that happened. So I'm not really supposed to be a girl. I don't feel like a girl, but it's what my mom wanted. So voila. And that's how babies are made. Yeah, so like, very bizarre. And it took me into my adulthood to even realize that it was bizarre. I mean, it was just something that I said as a kid. So now moving forward into third grade, I always had best friends, you know, like I remember, I think this girl's name was Hazel. I think her name was Hazel. Whether it was first name or last name, I remember that being one of her names. Okay, and really cool, you know, we're best friends. I don't remember what the girl shit we did was, but we did it. And I was always very protective of my friends, very protective of my family and my close friends. Always been like that, still like that now. So I don't remember what was going on. I think it was this kid was making fun of her or messing with her, something like that in class. I did something to retaliate, and this kid goes, "Why do you always get like that? It's like you like her or something." So for anyone who knows me, I am the worst liar in the world. If I ever come across a situation where I'm actually lying to someone, you either are in denial and don't want to admit to the fact that you know I'm lying, or it's so blatantly out there that you just call me on my shit. Okay, so after this kid says this, I'm just like in shock, and I'm like, what? No, I don't. What are you talking about? Blah, blah, blah. So very, very clear that I'm caught, I'm lying. If anybody can think back to being a kid and somebody blowing your shit about a crush, you know what I mean? You immediately get defensive and all these things. And I never forget the look on her face. It was just one of those things where she was just like, what the fuck? You know, like I'm not fucking with this girl anymore type shit. And I lost a best friend as early as third grade, you know. So I was hurt, I was embarrassed, I didn't really know how to react and things like that. So I tried really hard to always make sure I had a boyfriend. So now moving into fourth grade, you know, we're getting a little older and we think that we know about relationships and shit like that, and everybody has like a girlfriend or a boyfriend just to say that you do and shit like that, you know what I mean? So eventually, you know, again, goes back to I have a best friend and blah, blah, blah. Now in fourth grade, my best friend was not actually a crush. I was at a point where I had learned how to suppress any kind of feelings that I had towards women, girls, however you want to categorize it. I had learned how to suppress that stuff so that it didn't come out towards other people. Later in the game, I learned how to also suppress that for myself. But I wasn't quite there yet in fourth grade. So I had my best friends and things like that. And then I tried to kind of reach out, and I'm like, shit, like, maybe I should be, trying to get with some of the cool kids, because, then I can be cool just by being the girlfriend kind of thing, and like, that's lit, so let's try that. Didn't really quite work out. Not a very good plan, but I do remember actually trying to be in a relationship with this kid who was blatantly gay. I mean, blatantly gay. Of course, was not telling people as a fourth grader or anything like that. But I decided that's my victim. No, so I decided that, that's the kid that I want to be my boyfriend. So this is in the age of, you write a note, you give people options, they pick their fate. You know what I mean? Like, that's how it was when I was in like fourth grade and things like that. You did the little origami message. You pick that one person you trust to pass that joint down and not blow your shit before the person reads it. Things like that. You know what I mean? You pass it on. They read it. They circled it. They filtered it back to you. Boom. Boyfriend and girlfriend. Or you got stood the fuck up. So, surprisingly, this kid circles yes. So now we're hooked. Da-da-da. And then, dude, I swear, probably like the next day, he was like, yo, this ain't working out for me. So I'm like, damn, like, what the fuck? And I was actually living in a town where not every white person was exposed to other cultures. So he was like, I don't want to do this because I can't date black girls. So naturally, I'm like, what does that even mean? I'm hurt, I'm confused, and, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Me and my mom have always been very close. So I talked to my mom about it, and I'm like, I don't know what that means. Like, why would they say that? There's this other kid, he's black, he's friends with everybody. I don't understand why someone would think that or say that. So, I mean, like, around my friends, I was also embarrassed. I'm like, damn, like, so, like, we can't do that or what? So my mom and I had a talk about that. She educated me to an extent that as a fourth grader, I was able to comprehend. My mom was always good at that. She never hid things from us. She was always straight up with me and my siblings, and I always respect that in my mom. Always love that about my mom. So yeah, that's how it was, and I didn't have another gay moment until fourth grade was ending. And it's kind of funny telling this story because I never really realized the pattern until speaking it right now. But summer of fourth grade, this is when Destiny's Child was litty. Destiny's Child came out. They had Survivor, and this is when people watch videos, and on demand was becoming a thing and all that stuff. And when I tell you, I would watch that on repeat, bruh, Beyonce was wifey. In my head, we already had kids. We have been married for forever. Nobody else could talk anything about Beyonce. I mean, I was on Chris Crocker's level talking about leave Britney alone. Like, nobody could talk about Beyonce. Like, my life. Okay? So, yeah, so that's what was going on with that. And I remember it was always a debate of like, who's the best? Is it Beyonce? Is it Kelly? Is it Michelle? LaToya? Da da da. Oh yeah, Michelle wasn't. Nah, at this time Michelle wasn't in it, but LaToya was. So it was always that debate. You know what I mean? And we were having it on the bus on our way home. I remember we were talking about this, and somebody said something about Beyonce, and that shit came out. I'm like defending her as if like we're really like together. It was crazy. And somebody was like, "Would you like her or something? You acting like you want to like be her girlfriend or something like that or whatever." And as I said before, I cannot hide that shit. So it was like my emotions are always written all over my face, and that's exactly what happened. And immediately I'm like on this spotlight, and I couldn't handle it. It was just like one of those things. And I just remember like, you know, denying it, then getting quiet, and just like, I can't wait for my stop to come up because I don't know what just happened. So that was 4th grade. 5th grade, I was able again to suppress everything, and you know, and like I remember that last incident with with Beyonce. I just remember it being like one of those things where it's like, I thought this went away. Like, I thought that I got rid of this. Like, what's going on? Like, I'm never talking about Beyonce again. You know, like, I was just like very extreme with everything, but also very sincere because I didn't know how to get rid of this. It was insane. So yeah, 5th grade, I just assumed that I knew how to get rid of that. I knew how to suppress that. And throughout the school year and things like that, I think I did a pretty good job. I had crushes, but I knew how to like say to myself, like, we're not going to like expose this though. We're not going to talk about this though. I would have like pep talk meetings with myself, like, all right, this girl is popping. However, people are onto us. Like, we can't talk about this. So I knew how to suppress it. And the summer of that year, I moved to a different town, and that's when I was like, all right, let's get a boyfriend type thing. And it's not like I seeked it out. It was one of those things where, and no tea, no shade, but I was a pretty girl, and I always hung out with boys. So as like, you know, we were maturing, I didn't realize that, you know, boys started seeing that a little bit different, you know. So they were ready to move it on to that thing, and then the next step was first kiss and things like that. And I definitely would say that I allowed myself to do that way too early because it was something I was still confused about, something that I did not really want to do. Like, the thrill of doing it and getting away with it was cool. Like, this is bad, but like, I can do this and get away with it was like a good feeling. But aside from that, it was just like back to house. Like, I'm a girl, this is what girls do kind of thing. So yeah, that happened and everything. And you know, I kept boyfriends, and I stayed in that town for pretty much the whole summer. Then we moved to a different town, and now it was time to start a new school, meet new people, things like that. And I met some people And I was still like wearing my swishies and my clothes like as baggy as I was able to pull off, because my mom was not beat for letting me wear clothes that didn't fit. So I was still, basically the point I'm making is I was still very much tomboy. I still went outside. I played football. I played tag. We played Kill the Man, Doorbell Dixie, like things like that. So I'm carrying this over as I move into a new town. I meet these kids. They're playing football. So I'm like, yo, like, need an extra person. They let me in. And this kid, one of the first kids I meet, he's like, yo, you want to play center? So I'm like, that's whack. Like, no, like, I'm nice. I don't want to play center. And I didn't get it. So quick side bit is I could be very blonde, we'll say. So knowing that about me, you could see why that didn't make it didn't make sense to me. I didn't understand that at first, and it took me like a whole like play and a half to be like, man, fuck out of here. Like, nah, like, I'm not playing center. So I'm like, I was that girl that's like, yo, throw hands. Like, I'm not beat for that. So, and I was always attracted to like the baddest kid, the one that everybody was scared to fight type thing. Like, I'm always attracted to them, ironically. So I ended up getting a relationship with that kid, and that lasted for a little bit. And then before you know it, here we are in 6th grade, and now we're really getting older. And the cycle just kind of repeated itself for the most part. I was able to suppress it longer because I had more of an understanding that, like, this is gay and you can't be gay. So 6th grade, I was still like that new kid. I'm just meeting people, things like that. And then I slowly started to realize by the time 7th grade came that, like, these kids were like fucking and I was not used to that. That was not in my vocabulary. So I had girls that were pissed at me that their quote unquote boyfriends were interested in me, and I'm like, girl, like, you can have them. Back in my mind, I'm like, what you about? Like, so, I was pretty good at this point, being able to suppress it. I made friends. I developed best friends and things like that. And I was able to go pretty much up until like high school without having any of the feelings, without having any crushes. Not like how I had before, at least. There's always going to be a girl that you find attractive if that's what you're genuinely into. But it wasn't like before, like Beyonce status, where I'm like, yo, this is my wife type thing. So by the time high school came, I played sports, and I was exposed to more girls being around me all the time. Now, keep in mind, I wasn't used to having all girl friends. I was used to having guys as friends. I had to learn that world of girls chill with girls and like actually do it. So I moved into that, and I would get scared to death whenever I realized that I was like having a crush on somebody. And for the sake of this conversation, I'm not going to put no names. I'm not going to, put any kind of like targets on best friends. What I will say is, for anybody that's listening that may have known me around that time, may know me now, my best friend was not my crush. We will put that out there now. She was genuinely a sister to me, and not like how the thotty thots be saying, oh, that's my brother. Like, it wasn't like that. It was real, like, this is my sister type things. So just setting the record straight as far as that goes. Yes, so aside from that, I'm not going to put any kind of pins on any kind of other friendships and things like that, because at the end of the day, this story is talking about my experience. I don't want to put or wrap anybody else up in this specific conversation. So with that being said, go ahead and take a pause on this, and get back to the other half of the story. Right, so we are back. Left off in high school. So, as I mentioned before, no pins on friendships or anything like that. You know, I'm not doing this to, you know, point out anybody or, you know, spill any kind of tea or anything like that. So, just the experience. High school, I was more so at a point where I had pretty much like completely suppressed the fact that I am into women. You know, I had serious relationships. You know, I was in a relationship with this kid. You know, he was on a football team, and you know, I play sports, so it's like, you know, we're both out there, you know, making moves on our teams and things like that, you know what I mean? So that was my crowd. That was my, what I surrounded myself by. And the love that I had for that person in particular, and, you know, other relationships that I had been in were genuine feelings. And that confused me, because I'm going through these relationships and I'm living up to these standards that I've made for myself, and everything was real. You know, prom and dates and who met my mom, and nobody really wanted to meet my dad. I tell you that right now. People wouldn't even, let me tell you something, people wouldn't even come up to my door to meet my dad. So it was never that far, you know. Let's keep in mind, still high school, you know, nobody's out here getting married and things like that. So, you know, it was very confusing for me, because with those feelings being genuine, it's like, how can I like girls, and how come, you know, these things will pop up and blah, blah, blah. So I just kind of let it go. It was my safe net. The feelings were there. It felt real. You know what I mean? So go with it. Why not? I was actually, we're not going to go there, but but once I was almost done with high school, it started getting harder and harder to suppress all of these feelings that I had learned how to suppress. And the reason why is I had been doing the relationships. I had been going in and out of these things, and, you know, the feeling wasn't going away. It wasn't a magic wand that was erasing who I am. What really set it off is, and hopefully sometime in the future I can get like consent or something from this person, because I would love to talk to this person about the story I'm getting ready to tell. But again, we mentioned before, we're not putting pins on people, on friendships or relationships and things like that. But the story is, I met this person in high school. They were new to school, and she was very out. She was gay, and it terrified me. I was so horrible to this girl. I made jokes, I would tease her, and like things like that. Like I was bad. I was really bad, and I kept trying to do these things to make myself feel better. And it was like a bizarre experience to go through, because you hear about that stuff growing up, and people tell you, like, you know, hurt people and things like that. And, you know, going through it is a complete different type of experience. But all I know is that this girl was too similar to everything I hated about myself, and I could not have that. So eventually later, I found out that she had a crush on me. So then I started really freaking out, and, you know, I made a big deal out of nothing. And what I wasn't realizing is I was actually giving myself more attention than I even set out to have. Let's throw back in that cue of blonde moments, can we? But yeah, you know, the moral of it is I didn't handle it the correct way at all. We had tension between each other and things like that, and, you know, looking back, I could have made a really good friend. You know, even if I didn't come out in high school, I could have made a really good friend. So I do regret pushing that person away. However, life is life, experiences are experiences, and clearly I would not be the person that I am today, etc. So what happened, but that was an experience that I had, and I kind of just left it where it was. I didn't think that anything would come back out, because I saw what it was like being an out person in high school, and it's like, how is she even doing this? Like, how do you have the balls to do this? It was so foreign to me. So moving into college, I left all that stuff in the past, per se. I had one fling in high school with a girl. This person lived close, and we would hang out and things like that. And there was a time we were hanging out at my house, and you know what it's like when somebody's trying to, like, you know, make a move. So I eventually just kind of let it happen, and I had my first kiss with a girl outside of, like, playing house. When that one neighbor, I remember this girl, she was my first crush ever. She would come over, and every now and then, and I didn't have to be the dad when she came over, so she was wifey all day. But anyways, so yeah, I had my first kiss by a girl with this person, and I let all my emotions be in it, and played around my head a lot, because ultimately it was still like on a DL, you know, so it got really confusing. Due to the length of the story, I will come back to that, but for the relevance of the story at the same time, it did happen. So leaving that behind when I went to college was difficult. I, like, confessed my love to this person and, like, all these things, and I remember the person actually kind of holding on to that fling, and it was the first couple of weeks I was in college, and they would kind of like check in like, oh, are you going to forget all about me when, you know, you go out there, you want to like meet other people, as if we were in a relationship. And, you know, that's where my head was, but it was so new to me to have somebody talk to me that way that wasn't a guy, you know, and it was mutual. So I really like let that hype my head. But again, we'll get into, you know, details about that on a different day. So, of course, me being a serial relationship type person, I don't even remember how long it was in the college that I ended up getting in a relationship with this guy. And I remember not wanting to do it. And it was aside from him, you know, being a guy and things like that, just the fact that I didn't want to necessarily be in a relationship. I just wanted to kind of like mess around and see what it's like, and like, you know, play the fields. But me being me, it ends up being a relationship. I tried to end it at one point, and then I saw that it hurt that person. So then in my head, it was like, well, because they're hurt, we gotta stay together. So that's exactly what I did. We stayed together, I want to say, all the way till my first semester in college. And this is where we tie YouTube back into my experience, because when no one else is like some people have gay porn to go to, and that's their outlet. Or some people sneak off to like gay clubs, and that's their outlet. You know what I mean? My outlet was always YouTube, because I saw all these girls out there that like rock the do-rags and basketball shorts and beaters, were just like chill wear and things like that. And that's always what I wanted. I always wanted to be able to have the freedom to do something like that and be comfortable and it be okay. And watching the videos and subscribing to these channels and, you know, hearing the Q&As and all that kind of stuff was just that was my world. And I had this particular channel that I was really, really into, and I had a crush on a girl, and I remember just on a whim, I inboxed her, and I was like, yo, like, I had this situation, and I just started telling her everything. I'm like, you know, I'm in this relationship, and I'm at a point where I don't really know what to do, because I really actually care about the person, but I know that all of these feelings I've been suppressing won't go away. I've been trying to get them to go away, and they won't go away. So she actually responded, and man, it was like, for me, it was like a celebrity. And she, in a nutshell, basically, you know, told me that, you know, you gotta follow your heart, and it's only fair for you to do that, not only for yourself, but for him as well, because if you're not giving him all of you, and you know what I mean, and you're holding back, it's not necessarily fair to that person. I thought on it, and I'm just like, I'm scared as hell, but I gotta do it. I gotta come out. So I got lit, and me and my friends, we went out, like, you know, we're partying, all these things, and I kept trying to wait for a point where everybody was together and I could just quick say it, and then we could move on and like continue getting lit or whatever. I learned that it's never really a good time. I decided to do this in the stairwell of one of the party houses. And I'm just like, guys, I got something to tell you, you know, but I don't really want anybody else to know, da da da. So they're like, what's up? And I'm like, I like girls. And they're like, okay. And I'm like, no. You don't understand. Like, I always liked girls. I don't like boys. Not like I'm supposed to, I guess. And they're just like, okay, like, all right, so you're gay then. And I was just like, I just remember like tearing up and like kind of crying and like, damn, like, y'all don't understand, like, this is hard. I never thought I would say this and all these things, you know what I'm saying? So it was very, very, very amazing to be able to get something like that out and share it with the people that I surround myself with all the time. And I'll never forget it. So coming out to my friends was a lot easier than I thought. The weird part is I then had to tell my boyfriend at the time, and again it was in a manner that probably wasn't my best option, but it did happen. We went to a party, we got invited to a party, and it actually was a party that I had a crush on this person. And this is the first time that any of these feelings had ever risen again, since I had suppressed them so deep from the Beyonce trial. You know what I mean? But no, on a serious note, you know, I didn't realize how intense it was until that feeling still happened while he was there. So for me, it was, I get the little butterflies if I'm into a girl, but that ain't nothing, no big deal. And usually when I was with somebody, you know, I'm in a relationship with somebody, and those feelings would never occur because that was my focus. But not in college. I experienced something completely different, and it genuinely changed my life. And so yeah, we're at this party, I'm with the guy that like I love and all these things, and that person's party, they were so excited to see me, and they're like, I didn't think you were gonna come, and all these things, and they were just like really hype. And I forgot he was there. All I was focused on was that person. My whole world was just turned. He immediately became my homie. Immediately. I didn't show that to him, but we were also just drinking and stuff, you know. So after we left the party, I was still drunk and I was nervous, but I spoke to him and I said, you know, we've always said that we're best friends, right? He agreed. So then I led into it saying, you know, I have to tell you something, and I haven't told anybody this but my brother. And I basically was, sorry I got sidetracked there, but I basically, you know, stated that, and then told him that I really wanted to tell him because I care about him. And I said, you know, I like girls. I always have since I can remember. And they said, okay. Then it didn't affect them. So I'm like, you have anything to say? You have any questions or anything? And they were just like, nah, like, it's all good. And then said, well, what made you ask me now? And I'm like, I don't know, I'm just lit. And just kind of left it like that, because I don't know, I could have stated the whole crush thing. I could have just, kind of laid everything out and just, went from there. But that's not really where my emotions were. That's not where I was mentally. And, keep in mind, I still care about this kid. I don't want to, hurt his feelings just because I have a moment of relief. I'm a thinker, and I like to sometimes overthink, but in general, I like to think things over before I just start making decisions. So that's what I did. I waited on it, and we were together for a couple more months, and it was just like you could tell that it was over. And I felt bad, but ultimately what I did is we sat down and I said, I don't think that we should do this anymore. And I remember he was hurt. I mean, we had been together for about a year and a half, or actually, no, 2.5 years. 2.5 years we had been together, so it's a long time. We really did grow a great bond. We grew such a great bond. And we're actually still cool to this day, actually. But it was difficult, and some of it I feel like I can commend myself on how I handled it, and there's other parts where I kind of look back and I'm like, maybe I could have handled that a little bit better. But it is how it happened. So, like I was saying, I mean, he was hurt. So he said to me, we don't have to, break up. I'll still be here if you wanted to like experiment with girls and see if that's what you want. And when he said that, I'm like, damn, like, he really loves me, like, yo, man. And then it made it harder for me, because I'm like, well, now I can't be gay. If, he just said this, he just made it even harder, and all these things. So again, me being me, I thought about it, and I'm just like, damn, man, like, no. This person means well, but if it were another guy, you wouldn't let me just go out and be with other people while we're in our relationship. And that's when I realized that it's just not something that's okay. And it wouldn't benefit either of us, and it's just ultimately just not fair to him. So I ended the relationship, and it was rocky. At the time, that person wasn't, after we had the conversation of, him giving me, I guess, like that hall pass, I actually saw him in person that day, but the follow-up, when I actually did the breakup, it was through text message. And before everybody out there starts hating me, it was because he wasn't allowed on our campus, which we won't go into why, but he wasn't allowed on the campus. Therefore, it was either that or over the phone. And for me, especially at that time, I do not know how to formulate my words and my feelings. Just saying it outright, I really needed to formulate it. I needed to write it all out. And since I did in the text, you might as well just send it. So that's what I did. That whole period was rocky and things like that. Not too long after I met my ex, and I remember being at it wasn't a party that day. It was just chilling at the dorms, things like that. it was her and one of her good friends. And I remember she asked me, like, oh, like, do you still go with so-and-so? And me, I'm a very protective person. So when I heard that, I got kind of like defensive, like, no, why? Because I saw it as like she was like being nosy or like trying to like get tea, and it was like, that's really not for you type of situation. I saw completely over the option that maybe she liked him or maybe she liked me or anything like that. So she started laughing and she's just like, I'm just asking, you know, like, I noticed that y'all not really, you know, around each other and stuff like that, like you're by yourself more, blah 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 blah. And you know, of course I was a little embarrassed, and I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, like, you know, we broke up. Then we go to a party, and I saw her at this party, and I had always had a crush on her friend, like, big crush on her friend. Little did I know that they both had big crushes on me. So I'm like, what the hell? All this time, da 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 da. But obviously, I don't end up getting with the friend. I end up getting with my ex. So, you know, over time, like, we got closer and things like that. And this is when I'm in my, like, brand new baby dyke phase, and like, I'm wearing like corny ass fitteds, and my clothes don't look right, and I'm like looking crazy. I have no sense of fashion. Even to this day, like, I'm really not that fashionable. So I was looking a hot mess. But those are my trial days, and I'm like peeping like all these girls on campus, and I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna back that one, I'm gonna back that one, da 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 da. You know what I mean? So I'm like feeling myself and things like that. So when I started talking to my ex in the beginning, I was like on Twitter, and like that was my shit. So I like hit her up on Twitter, and I did the whole like, it was near Thanksgiving break, and I remember like I wanted to get her number so that I could like boo love and shit over break. And ultimately that's what I did. And I was like OD scared to send a tweet and everything like that, and my friends were clowning me, and you know, typical standard. So, you know, basically I get the number, we start getting closer, you know, before you know it, we start dating, and before you know it, aside from that, you know, we're in this long-term relationship, and we stayed together for, I want to say about 2.5 years. Yeah. Pretty much the same amount of time. Yeah, pretty much the same amount of time I was with my ex before her. Yeah, because we picked up towards like the end of the second semester of my sophomore year throughout me graduating. So, yeah, about 2.5 years. So yeah, we had that relationship, and I had a lot of experiences and things like that, and I was officially baby dyking it. I got exposed to a lot more things that I wanted to experience, you know, parties, and I'm around more people who have the same interests as me, and you know, I have new friends that if I weren't, you know, taken, I could go like bag bitches with and things like that. Go holler at women with. But it was really a good time. It was a good growing experience for me, and definitely a big, huge landmark in my life and my development. negatively, within that relationship, before I came out, was how I came out to my parents. For anybody out there that is trying to do what I'm about to tell you, don't have your mail sent home. Don't send your mail home. Handle it on your own. Because that's how you get caught. Okay? That's how you get caught. And as horrible as that experience was for me, I'm glad that I did. So, me being with this girl, as long as we were really in love, and I decided that I wanted to get her a promise ring. And for us, the promise ring was a pre-engagement ring. And for anybody who doesn't know what a pre-engagement ring is, it is a promise that once we are able to have money and we're not broke college kids, that we will make the step of getting engaged. New ring, new process, everything in between. So what do? I go with my best friend to Zales. I go and pick out a ring. I drop bread on the ring. And then because I thought, so let me just say this. My thought process wasn't that bad. Where I missed was things like that get sent home to where you live. I decided that I will open up a credit card, and that credit card will pay for the ring. And I only had X amount of payments to make. And I had a campus job, so it made it a little bit easier for me. I only had X amount of payments to make for the ring to pay off the credit card. And once the credit card was paid off, then I'm good. I'm good. Nope, as you can guess, that is not what happened. My mom hit me up one day and it's like, "Did you open a credit card?" So I was like, "Nah, like I ain't do all that." So I tried to call and cancel the credit card. So I'm like, damn, like I really need to pay this off. Maybe I still have time to finish, pay it off, and then cancel it for real. And then, she won't know anything. So basically, did not learn from mistake number one. So I followed through with this plan, and it did not work. It did not work at all. She hit me up a separate day. I mean, probably a week or so in between. And it's like, "I thought you canceled the card." I'm like, "I did." It's like, why am I still getting mail from Zales about a credit card? So then I'm nervous as hell. You already know I'm not a good liar. I freak out and I'm just like, "I lied, Mom. I was trying to get you some earrings for your birthday. Wanted to be real cute. So, couldn't afford what I wanted to get. Opened up the credit card. I'm going to pay it off. It's not that much left. Be good." She says, "Oh, honey, that's a nice thought and everything, but you don't need to do that. Just cancel the card." All right. Cool, Mom. That's what I'll do. Halloween. It was Halloween Eve. My mom calls me again, and she's just like, "Yo, what is going on? Now I'm pissed. What's going on with this card? You got loans. It's affecting your loans. They're coming to me saying, you stated that you have X amount of money, but now you open up credit cards. So really, do you have that much? Blah, blah, blah." My mom's like, "Listen, like if we get kicked off these loans, you're not going to be able to graduate. Like, what is going on?" And that's as soft as I could possibly make that message because my mom's pissed. She's pissed. So I remember I was standing outside of this haunted house that was made by students on campus. It was like a club. And I got that final phone call from my mom, and I was shaking. I was so scared because I knew that it was going to come down to the fact that I just got to tell her the truth. So I said, Mom, I got to tell you something, but I don't want to do it tonight. I'd rather do it in the morning. So I'm like, you're going to be upset. I'd rather do this tomorrow. I'll call you, or you call me when you wake up. I couldn't do anything. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't eat. I couldn't sleep. I remember sitting outside of my dorm in the dark, and I was bawling, crying, shaking, and I'm just sitting there, and I'm just like, what did I just do? How am I going to talk to my mother about this? How do I talk about this? How do I bring this up? What is about to happen? When I made that phone call, it not good. Not good at all. It was, she was obviously angry at the fact that I had been lying about the credit card. And now out of nowhere, it's like, not only did you just tell me like this, this is what I tell my mom. The reason why I lied about it is because of what I bought with the card. So now, clearly, she's even more pissed off because she's just like, can you just fucking say it? So I'm like, I bought a promise ring for my girlfriend. So she flips shit. She's like, what the fuck are you talking about? And we have the conversation. I'm crying. I'm scared. I don't know what to do. My mom's pissed off. She's not even taking this information in, really, because it's just like all thrown at her, like at one time, and it was a lot. We'll just leave it at that. And it started off very negative, and we had a lot of arguments, and throughout the rest of my time at college, it was just like a lot of like back and forth of like just not good. And it even kind of got like that with me and my dad, which usually me and my mom were at it. My dad's like the middle guy. He's just like, both of you guys need to just like kind of chill and like talk it out, because I'm tired of it. If it's not one of you coming to me, it's the other one, So it wasn't like that this time. He didn't say much, but I could hear a lot of disappointment in his voice. And come to find out later, for my dad, it wasn't the fact that I was gay. It was that I was presenting myself as a completely different person. I was a whole new person, and he did not know how to understand that. And to both of my parents, that came off very much so as I have been influenced by other people, and I'm not me anymore. I'm trying to be a stereotype just because this is my interest, this is my preference. And that was a debate for a while. So, after I came out to my parents like that, it, remained pretty negative. I go back home and everything, and it was weird. It wasn't negative. Well, shoot, man, like, who we lying? If it's not positive, it's kind of negative, right? So yeah, it was around that realm, but it wasn't hostile. Maybe that's the word I'm looking for. It wasn't necessarily hostile, but we weren't where I wanted us to be, where my parents wanted us to be, and it was very sensitive. Time would pass. I decided it was best for me to move out. Me and my ex broke up, and it was a lot of things going on at one time, and I had to learn how to grow up and become my own person. And I did some therapy, and it wasn't just to set the record straight. It wasn't like, oh my God, I'm gay, help me be straight kind of thing. It was more so, I don't know how to be me without my parents. I had been relying too heavily on them, and I was always thinking about what they would think, just over and over and over. And I had lost the ability to know how to make decisions for myself without checking in with them first. Now, for all the people out there who are family people, by no means am I saying cut off your family. It's actually the opposite. I'm very sad that I cut off my family, but I needed that. That was my rock bottom. I needed to regroup. I needed to find me. I needed to learn me. I needed to meet me and become the not even young adult, the adult that I am today. And eventually, through going through therapy and things like that, it was a snowball effect. And the next family member I came out to after that was my grandmother, and then I started hitting up my aunts and uncles, and eventually I was out to everyone. And after being out to everyone, I started coming around more, and it was little by little. It was small progressions, but ultimately I wouldn't change anything. So that's my story. I mean, obviously it goes deeper, but it's a good opener for conversations and things like that. All I hope is that I can help at least one person by listening to this, because that's my inspiration. Again, I had YouTube, that was my outlet, and I'm glad I had it. So if I could be that one person for somebody, that would be amazing. But thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. Just one more stepping stone in my journey. And that's it. That's it. That is my story. All right. I am out. I am gone. Deuces.